Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Simmons of Project Geospatial, and for this session, we have a unique panel of individuals. But first, before we get started with the panel on Conscious Cultures Drive Success, I want to introduce our moderator, Karen Hayes Ryan. Karen has recently retired from the U.S. intelligence community as a senior executive for 17 over 31 years. She served as the National Reconnaissance Office as the deputy of the IMINT, now GWINT Directorate, and deputy chief operating officer, as well as many other key engineering positions. Karen also served as the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency as their deputy chief engineer, director of IT oversight, and the agency's component acquisition executive. She's currently CEO of KHR Impacts, and most importantly, our newest board member of Project Geospatial. Karen, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Adam. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We know your time is really valuable, and we sincerely appreciate your participation. The purpose of today's session is to have a valuable discussion with some women-owned small businesses around culture and how their conscious decisions have shaped their success. This current posture is fundamentally changing the way we do business. Today, we have 3 panel members with us. And I'll do some brief introductions. We are hoping to get some live questions from you. So as you see the little button at the bottom, please don't hesitate to send them in. We will save some time at the end of our presentation. So our first panel member today is Miss Mandy Parmer. She is the managing partner of Assured Consulting Solutions. She is a managing partner and co-owner and is responsible for ACS operations that includes service delivery, finance and accounting, customer outreach, mission operations, contract management, and business enablement. Her areas of focus include strategic planning, innovation, and technology insertion, as well as data-driven decision-making and digital transformation, IT governance, process improvement, and organizational change management. In concert with leadership from other areas, Mandy has guided ACS to almost 3,000% growth over the past 5 years. Through employee empowerment, she cultivates a culture that drives innovation and a #LoveWhatYouDo corporate ethos. Ms. Parmer has comprehensive executive level advanced IT experience. Prior to her work at ACS, she had career contributions ranging from a GS scale mathematician at the David Taylor Model Basin to the vice president of advanced programs for BAE Systems IT and cybersecurity business unit. Mandy has a master's degree in Master of Science degree in Systems Engineering from George Washington University and a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematical Science from the Johns Hopkins University. She is also PMI and PMP certified. Our second panel member is Ms. Kelly Allen. Kelly is the CEO of Allen Integrated Solutions. Kelly is a veteran with over 30 years of experience of both national and DoD ISR mission systems, communities, and programs. By the way, her veteran service was in the Air Force. She is also a former U.S. Air Force civilian serving as the MASINT functional manager and at NGA working the Advanced Geospatial Intelligence Program and Systems Integration. From an industry perspective, Kelly has defense sector leadership experience, having served as a director for a large business providing science and technology services to the DoD and the intelligence community. Today, she is Chief Executive Officer at Allen Integrated Solutions and is very proud of her people and the company core capabilities, which are in program management, enterprise studies and assessment, lifecycle acquisition, rapid acquisition and mission acceleration, systems integration, data science, source operations, and geospatial training, with a specialty in the Indo-PACOM region. Her degrees from Southeast Missouri State are in political science and in government. She is an active member of the USGIF Small Business Advisory Working Group, and on behalf of that working group, she is authoring a white paper on how to improve small business strategies, programs, and opportunities at NGA. Our final panel member is Ms. Cara duCellier. She is president and CEO of the Abile Group. Cara earned her master's in business administration with a concentration in organizational consulting from the University of Maryland. the College Park RH Biz School of Business, and her bachelor's degree with a focus in industrial and personnel relations from UMBC. She also holds a PHR and a PMP. Early in her career, Cara broke out of the standard HR role to begin partnering with operations to link the definitions of success through all levels of an organization. This focus led her to begin supporting the federal government and their contractor organizations and organizational performance management challenges over 20 years ago on one of the first IT outsourcing contracts in the intelligence community while working for Computer Sciences Corporation. Her project and performance management consulting assignments in their federal consulting practice brought her to NGA, where she would join and lead a niche consulting group focused on performance and network management. Her influence as an SLA and performance management expert helped make NGA's first IT SLAs a reality despite contract constraints, and it epitomized the government contractor partnerships. In late 2011, Ms. Cara duCellier acquired the entire firm and rebranded them as Abile Group. Abile is kind of a growth of able and agile, and that began to grow. Today, their focus is on performance managers and cross-trained systems network and cyber engineers that understand both business and technology. Abile has supported over 12 different contracts, 4 different agencies in 6 different states. They are on the Inc. 5000 list. They are a great place to work certified. And we found out today that they made the Baltimore Business Journal's Fast 50 list. Cara's attributes this growth and successes to their critical focus on employee and client satisfaction and their values of integrity, respect, innovation, and expertise. Now that you have met our great panel members, they're going to take 3 to 5 minutes each to offer their perspective about this topic on women-owned businesses. What we really are looking for is an origin story. Why did you get into the business? How did we overcome barriers to entry? What do you do to view, what do you actually view as your origin? Because that's not necessarily your incorporation date. And what are you so excited about in leading a small business? So Mandy, can we start with you?
Absolutely, thank you. And a couple things on this concept of 3 to 5 minutes. Anybody who knows me knows that I can fit 20 minutes worth of stuff in 5. So I'm going to make an attempt to speak at non-Alfred and the Chipmunk speed, I guess is what I wanted to say. And I also, before I want to get started, I want to thank you, Karen and Adam, for hosting this panel. We've had a couple sessions behind the scenes to talk a little bit about what the discussion topics would be. And it is so thrilling to interact with other women-owned small businesses who have different perspectives, different thoughts. And it's amazing to me and thrilling to me that we all have this kind of iron in the fire for culture. Super, super excited about being deliberate and specific setting culture. So a little bit about Assured Consulting Solutions. Technically, our start date is 2011, but we like to say that we put our stamp in the sand, or our line in the sand, in 2013. Erin Willett, my business partner, and I in 2013 decided we were going to go after government business. She and I formed this company sort of on two philosophicals. One, a huge passion for the mission, and 2, doing something differently than the large businesses that we had both come from. So she and I had both independently gotten a little frustrated with the way large businesses run. The last job I had before working with ACS was to run a worldwide IT presence. I had 760 people working for me, which sounds great. But for me, I couldn't figure out how to intrinsically motivate people because I didn't know them well enough. So we formed this business, like I said, specifically focused on a mission, and with the idea that we wanted to have a different model. We wanted to sort of change the world, make employees excited to work for us, empowered, thrilled about going down and doing their job, that love what you do that we talked about a little bit earlier. And you'd be shocked to find out that when we decided we were going to change the world, it wasn't quite that easy. So in 2013, we're going to go, we're ready to go. We go and knock back on our customer door, because she and I had both left contracts that focused on defense intelligence agency. So we went and knocked on DIA's door and said, hey, we're ready. And they said, well, you're great. We love you guys, but how do we get to you? And obviously that's a little bit more difficult for anybody who started a business. It's a little bit more difficult than, like I said, just I've rolled out my welcome mat. So we sat down in the beginning of 2013, and on the back of a napkin, literally on the back of a napkin, we sketched out our 5-year plan. And it was a series of serial step functions. What are we going to do first? What are we going to do next? How do we get to that point where we're at now back inside the door? And we're really pleased to say that we tracked pretty well against our step functions. In 2014, we got our first subcontracted work. In 2015, we got our first prime work and a DCAA audit, which was pretty exciting. In 2016, we got our next honest to goodness impactful piece of prime work. And in 2017, we crested that 20-person threshold of we have 20 employees. We were so excited. In 2018, we won the SECAF Government Contractor of the Year. 2019 and 2020, we were named Washington Post Best Places to Work, and we've had 3 years of being on the Inc. 5000 list. So we've done a fairly good job of tracking step function over step function to get where we wanted to be. It took us all the way, by the way, to 2016 to get back in the door at DIA. It took us that good 3 years. And I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead to the next topic, and I'm going to promise I'm just going to say this one little thing. You may ask, what did we do in 2013 besides write on the back of that napkin? We made our first ever hire, and that person was specifically focused on culture. What we wanted to do was make sure, remember, I told you all we wanted to change the world. I wanted to be different than those big businesses that we worked for. So we wanted to make sure when that first employee showed up in 2014 with our first subcontracted work, we had already set the foundation for what ACS is, what values we put out there, what our mission statement would be, and how we're going to make good on that commitment to be different, to be inclusive, to be energizing and employee empowering. And so we spent that year of 2013, like I said, thinking big thoughts and investing deliberately in what our culture was going to look like when that customer-facing employee number 1 showed up. So that's a little bit about our origin story, and I'm so excited. Like I said, I've already had the benefit of hearing a little bit from both Kelly and Karen. I'm so excited for everybody else to get to hear how similar and also very different their origin stories are. So Kelly, if you don't mind jumping in and talking a little bit about yours.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us on the panel, Karen and Adam. We really appreciate it. But we did have a few prep sessions, and they were very exciting to find out that we had very similar stories and experience. And I think you'll see that common independent thread throughout each one of our discussions today. One of the main reasons why I decided to start a company was really based on my experience from working in the government as Air Force active duty and then also as a civilian. I really just, similar to Mandy and Cara, love the mission. I really, really think that the defense and protection of our nation is critically important. I think it is very important to have the best intelligence capabilities that we can bring to bear and to the table. And I was a system acquisition professional for intelligence systems, and I love the build process. I really, really enjoy the whole process of identifying where the gaps are, where the requirement, helping to cultivate and develop the requirements, analyzing all the different alternatives, and then also just working with really good people in the community that have that common interest for the mission, how we all work together to build these capabilities and systems, and then, see them thrive. So I've really had a unique experience being in a very small niche kind of area within the geospatial community. I started out in the MASENT community where we worked on imagery-derived MASENT sensors and advancing processing and exploitation capabilities. And then we help migrate those into the service warfighting architectures. And we quit calling them MASENT, and then we called them imagery-derived MASENT. And then after I left the Air Force, I went to the to the air staff in the Pentagon to be a civilian and did an Air Force-wide study. So all of that culmination of that experience really gave me that passion and love to work with the people and to do this mission. But after, doing government jobs within the Air Force and as a civilian, I went out into industry and worked for a couple of large businesses. And I think too similar to Mandy, I just really wanted to create, after having a lot of experience with a leadership position, an executive position, but also having, profit and loss responsibility, doing our own business development and capture, and then doing large scale proposals and, working from that perspective, and then also working within a large business culture and caring and taking care of people within their construct. I really wanted to do something different and create an environment that I would like to work in. And I think that's really one of the main reasons why I had a departure from large business and went our own direction. Was really very, very much focused on creating that culture. And it's pretty simple, we're working on, we are still kind of in the startup phase, so to speak. So we started really in 15, and I did a lot of B2B consulting while I was waiting for the ever needed facility clearance. And so that we can bid on and hire people with clearances. And that's quite a process in and of itself. And one of those barriers to entry, you have to get support to have that. And it does take time. And so within that year, did a lot of B2B consulting and learned even more from larger businesses than I'd worked with before and about their cultures. And I tried to, pick the things that I liked from, each one of those experiences, but also, I have a different, I guess I would say, level of being, so to speak, at this time where, I also have some altruistic interest to focus on in my personal life. And so, I have, a foundation that I'm doing in my private life that I'm taking some of my earnings to help children when they graduate high school. And I think that's important. But I think that's also important to pull that thread and within your own company and provide that, if you would say, the authentic self of explaining why you're in your business for the mission, and that you're about building that culture of a place that you would like to work in, but then also that there's something bigger than the company and our day-to-day mission, and that is giving back and preparing to support the next generation. So with that said, I'll pass that on to Cara and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, as everyone started with, thank you so much for Adam and Karen for doing this. We really appreciate it. And gosh, great origin stories from both of you. I heard a little bit when we were first going over this, but even more compelling right now. So kudos to both of you. I'm so proud to be part of this with all of you. My origin story is similar, right? I mean, we all kind of came from the same place. Everybody started a business and then said, now what, right? We all started a business because we didn't want to work in large business and we wanted to make a difference. I think our now what was a little longer than Kelly's and Mandy's, but our now what really took about 10 years. So we spent about 10 years as a small group of consultants, working in the intelligence community, understanding the challenges that our prime contractors, that our clients were facing. And what we found is you do have to grow at some point in time, but we weren't necessarily ready right away. So we spent some time tackling all those crazy hurdles. Like, guess what? You're a woman-owned small business, a minority-owned small business, a service-disabled veteran-owned business, an 8A. It doesn't matter. You still have to sell something, and it has to be good, and your clients have to want to use you again and again and again. And even if you do happen to get given something, guess what? You have to deliver on it. So how do you create that culture, and how do you make sure that it's long-lasting? Compliance. Oh my gosh, they talked a little bit about barriers to entry, but has anybody tried to read the FAR? Wow, you do it right the first time though. And if you don't do it right the first time, you pay. And sometimes you actually pay. So we learn those lessons, on a small scale without having to get big. Contracts, they're super complicated, right? Make sure you know what you're signing, read it all twice, maybe 5 times, depending on what it is, right? Learn it. To this day, I have contract support, but I read every single one of them because guess what? You're the one that's bound to them. And relationships, right? We learn that relationships are so, so very important, but they are not everything. They're going to open the doors. You know, your ability to sell something opens the doors, but ultimately your ability to deliver the employees who can do what you said they're going to do is really what matters, because you need to be able to sell it again. So I was really excited when we rebranded as Abile Group in 2012, because I felt like we were a young business with history, with knowledge. And I felt like I had an opportunity to kind of start over almost and be really wise, right? And I think so much of what I do and what I think is all about wisdom, right? Understanding what I know, understanding what I don't know, and focusing my growth in the areas that I don't, and then helping my employees to become the same way. So our focus on performance metrics and shared definitions of success really is what led me to this career. I love it. I don't know why it seems so exceptionally hard for government contractors and government agencies to come together and say, yes, we agree on what we need and what we want. But by golly, I love helping with that. And everything we've done and everything we've built has been around that. And as we've grown, I think some people go, I want to be a technical company focused on this because that's the hot thing right now. But we've grown in a way that we go, I want to be focused on performance management. I want to be focused on supporting my clients, understanding their goals, helping develop solutions. And the technology, we will learn the technology and we'll craft it in response to those needs. So our company has really been focused on being business smart and tech savvy, focused on continuous education and growth. And we've developed from there. Just like Mandy, just like Kelly, culture has been incredibly important to us. So we have extremely, very deeply rooted values in diversity, in integrity, in respect, in client and customer support. So those things we really, really built in, and making sure that we have a small family-oriented environment and are paying attention to our employees and giving them the careers that they're looking for, not just a job, right? And I don't want to give away everything else we're talking about either. So, but right now I'm really excited about where we are. We've actually just branched out and started applying for awards. So I'm so very excited that we got the news today about the Baltimore Business Journal Fast 50. And we have I don't know if you can see it, our Great Places to Work banner. And just, finally getting an opportunity to express publicly the feeling that we've always had about how great of a place this is to work and how much we love our employees and how much I hope our employees love to work for us. That's about it. I know we have a bunch of topics, so let me not go into all of them yet.
Thank you, all three of you. Those were great. For all of these origins seem to be focused around a purposeful development of culture. For example, Kelly made a conscious attempt to make sure that her culture is focused around giving back to the community in some very interesting ways. So for all three of you, what are you most proud of? Kelly, do you want to start?
Sure. I think, I would still consider us in startup phase. We have 30 people, and we should be adding about 10 people here within the next 6 weeks or so. So we're rapidly growing. But I think I'm really most proud about our people and the foundation that we've built. I had the background to make sure I did, got the business operations foundation built and that sort of thing. But really, the true foundation, I think, of a successful business is finding the right talent, but not just the talent of people, because there are a lot of talented people in the community that, can perform the work functionally. But I think for, just a unique aspect is we're just finding just some great people that are basically on the same wavelength. I do all the interviews myself. I've interviewed everyone in our company except for one person, and our program manager did that one. And I take the time to speak to people and talk to them about the culture and about what we're about, and that we want to be, different from other places. And what's different about us are, largely our expectations about our environment and our tenor in which we conduct business. And I do use the word, some of the key words, which are, we want to be, professional, but we want to be, a calm, respectful place to work. We don't have expectations for you to go beyond your normal day job unless you truly want to. And the way I look at the people that want to give additional things outside of their normal contract is, I always think that entrepreneurial people rise and they show themselves. And the reason why that happens is we can't help it. We're wired that way, it's in our DNA, and we're just naturally going to gravitate that way. And so with that, for those people that rise, you give them opportunities to, thrive and to help grow the business. And part of our culture too is that, we're going to share part of that, which I think is a departure from other business models where a lot of the companies keep the profit in a very higher echelon portion of the leadership within the company, or for other reasons, infrastructure and things like that. We actually provide a large bit of our profit back to the people, especially those that are contributing with good ideas and white papers and innovation. So I think out of everything, I'm most proud about really finding that I guess that perfect mix and balance of establishing the foundation culture, and then also seeking the right people that also share that. And you can see that, and you can tell that when you interview people. And I think finding that and selecting those people has been really our key to the foundation for, the basis for our success and where we're headed in the future. Anyone else?
Cara, do you want to go?
Did you say me or Mandy?
Oh, Cara, how about you?
So I can't agree with you more, right? I mean, there's so much to be proud of in a small business, and how do you narrow it down? And I think the bottom line is I'm proud of so much of our culture, right? And I think I'm proud of where we started. I'm proud of the hustle that so many of our management team have shown. Ultimately, what I'm proud of is I feel like we have a culture that's rooted very, very much in shared success. So from a profit sharing perspective, we are very much the same way. If you bring new work, if you bring new business, if you bring any kind of growth in revenue or profit, you have the ability to share in what you've brought to the company. We have very much a, you catch it, you kill it, you eat it kind of concept. We allow people to grow from an engineer to a business developer to a program manager. And we've actually have proof of people doing that in our organization, and it's amazing, right? I'm super proud of our culture of constant communication and open doors. I love it when my employees go, I couldn't believe when I started that I could pick up the phone and call you at any time. And they can, and they know that they can, right? We have monthly meetings, we have happy hours, we have quarterly team building events. We stay in touch, by golly, do we? And I think possibly over communicate at times, but guess what? You don't have to come, you don't want to, but it is there. And think so many people really appreciate that, right? We're super family oriented. I'm very, very proud of that. We work hard, but we play hard. And just like Kelly, we've never asked somebody to work more than their 40-hour work week if that's not what they want, right? We're here to provide a career for everyone, and everyone fits in depending on what they're looking for. So we have those options for those people who want to come to work and do a great job and go home and not work after that. And we understand and respect that. I think during one of our pre-meetings, I said, and I love it, like we were working from home before working from home was cool, right? Think about how much more time you have that you get to return to your personal life. And we have very much embraced that. So our overhead team knows that and loves that, and knows that, they have to go do something, they can take care of it and they can come back. We focus on getting the job done, right? That's the most important thing when you're here. Get the job done when you're here, and then play hard when you're not. Right? From a family perspective, we are so very, very focused on knowing our employees, knowing their families. We just had a drive-in movie event here, in the DC metro region. It was so much fun because we haven't seen our employees in ages, and they were able to bring their families out and watch Madagascar. It was awesome to get together. Even my own family participates. So when they did the DoD mask mandate, my kids went and made masks for everybody because you couldn't buy a mask. They were like, cover your face with anything, a scarf or whatever, anything you want. And we were like, well, what are we going to tell them to cover their face with? Okay. They actually went out, got patterns, and made masks and gave it 50 masks to all of our employees. So it was just so fun to see everybody getting engaged. And it just continues, right? I mean, you give them that family focus, they give it back to you, and they appreciate that. And that has been so very, very amazing. You know, we help them build careers, not just jobs. So, and when we talk about recruiting in a minute, we can talk about that a little bit more, but hiring for competencies just gets you so much better of an environment where you can help grow somebody. You can provide them with opportunities that maybe they never even thought of before. And it's an amazing, amazing thing. And I love being a part of it. It's just so great. And then of course, we can't forget about the fact that we give back. Like, we absolutely give back. We provide volunteer time for our employees. We do community service events. We served at a soup kitchen in Alexandria right before all of the COVID closures, and everybody kind of freaked out a little bit about that, but but it was amazingly fun and so rewarding. We're in the middle of doing a school supply drive right now. It's just one of those things that we feel we are, especially right now, incredibly blessed to be where we are, and we want to make sure that we're giving back all the time. But yeah, I'm super proud. I love our culture. I love our people. I'm proud of where we are and what we can do when we all band together.
All right, I'm going to jump in now and say some things. First of all, for those of you out in the virtual world that are listening, we actually didn't tee up the answers to this question. And here you are with 3 women-owned small businesses that are basically going to say the exact same thing, which is we're proud of the giving back. We're proud of our employee-focused culture. We're proud of work hard, play hard. Cara is actually one of our hashtags on all of our recruiting literature. So, so you'll go out and find it. It will say work hard, play hard, and love what you do, as well as a couple other ones that are in there. But it's really hard, to your point, to select which thing I am most proud of. I'm going to back up and I'll tell you a little story, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we got there. We, a couple years ago, did an employee opinion survey, and we do them every year. And anybody who's been part of the Washington Post Top Workplaces or any of those types of things, you know that they do a good survey for you behind the scenes as well. And it's worthwhile getting access to that information, because the beauty of owning a small business is within the law, we can do whatever we want. So if the employees aren't happy with something, we can change it. We can make it better. And that is what is so great about owning a small business. But a couple years ago, did our survey. Tail end of the survey, where employees were given an opportunity to choose 3 words that describe ACS. So we made this into a gigantic word cloud. And front and center, middle of that survey, is family. And this was, as I mentioned, in 2013, we sat down and said, what does our culture need to look like? What are we going to drive towards? And we started by saying, basically, we want to mirror our own individual values, that mission focus, that giving back component, and in the middle, the operating as a consultant. So how do you get a consulting culture? What does this look like? So we did a lot of different things. We actually created a sort of an ACS consulting culture guide. And there are 17 different attributes we're looking for. Things like confidence without hubris, productivity. That's your work hard, play hard thing. That's don't work longer, work smarter. What else is in there? Resourcefulness. So many of these people come from other places and have this wonderful quiver of arrows on their back that they should be using in their job. So we came up with these sort of guideposts for what do we think a consulting person looks like. And every employee in the company is provided this and said, basically, here's what we're kind of looking for from you. Kelly, to your point, we include questions in our interviews that drive towards this consulting mindset, because we want everybody to be operating at that plane. Similar to both of you, we incentivize everybody to be active business growth sensors. Now, they don't have to. It's an incentive. There is no stick behind the scenes beating them on the back of the legs. This is all To your point, entrepreneurs are going to raise their hand, they're going to be involved, and we incentivize all of them to have active involvement. We have, back to employee focus, you can read our mission and vision statement as well as our values, and they all speak to employee-based things, employee-driven things. Inside of ACS, we have something called employee resource groups. That is the way an employee can stand up a group that makes a difference in the way we operate. One of the ones that's been around the longest is the military transitioning and careers program, unless it's the reverse, military careers and transitioning program. It's a lovely set of letters, and I have the thing next to me. Anyway, the point is more than 50% of our employees are ex-military, and many times people coming out of the military don't quite know what the contractor world is going to look like. It is wildly different than being a full-time active duty military person. And so we had employees that stood up and said, we think we can make their lives easier. Stood up an employee resource group entirely driven by employees. We as executives sponsor it, and we sponsor it even monetarily for people who want to run the employee resource group, but it's entirely the employees saying, this is how we're going to help ex-military transition into the workforce. And we do that inside of ACS. We offer something called discretionary time off. The idea behind that is you are an adult and you know when you need time off, you should have it available when it's needed. What that means, we also know that you're an adult and you own a full-time job. So the expectation is that you will come in and work hard, but when you need that time off, it's there, it's available for you to use. Because what we really want more than anything is for those employees to go away at the end of the day and come back the next day energized, excited, engaged. So much of what we do is focused on making sure that those employees are engaged, making sure that they are super excited about that next day. Similar, we have what's called a day of advocacy. It used to actually be a day of volunteerism. It was specifically focused on going out and doing good works in your community. In the last 6 months, we actually recognized that our employees wanted to be able to use that time for things about which they feel passionately. It doesn't have to be volunteerism. So if that means that you want to go and knock door to door for your candidate, or you want to go and walk down the street and hold up a sign, whatever is in your heart that is important to you, we want to support that, because it's important that we are treating our employees as a whole, not just a cog in a machine for doing something for the government. So like I said, I'm most proud that we're recognized as family. I am most proud that when we stood up this company and said we wanted to do good works and give back, we've had the ability to empower our employees to do that, as well as to do that at the most senior level. It is, and while there is an edge of altruism and there's a component of altruism, I will also say, as we kind of dive directly into talent acquisition, there is also trying to set ourselves separate from the rest of the world, or the rest of the, you guys can be part of our little world, but some other companies don't operate the same way. And it does help us when we're going after, our company works in data science, in cleared data science and data architecture, highly technical people. I swear to you, there's 3 people in the DC area that we are just juggling back and forth amongst the 5 companies that do data science. I mean, we are looking for what we call needles in the needle stack. It's not even a needle in a haystack. There are 50 million needles, and we're hoping we can find the one that fits for us. So working on a culture that, like I said, mirrors our values, that focuses on the mission and empowers the employees is self-soothing and makes me feel good, but it also has that side of, it's going to attract the employees who want to work in that type of environment. So that's where we stand culturally. And like I said, we invested, it was deliberate, it was conscious, and everything we do drives towards these things we set out in 2013. And I can keep talking about talent acquisition, Karen, if you'd like me to go down that path. I got words to say in that space.
I know. So, it seems like for all 3 of you, your purposeful development of culture has had quite an impact on your talent acquisition and talent retention strategies. For example, Cara focused on career development, competency-based relationship recruiting, competency-based recruiting. So I'd like to hear from you guys, how has this allowed you to come up with new and creative ways to bring potential candidates to these new and evolving career fields? Cara, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So I loved listening to their descriptions of culture and hearing how close they are, right? I mean, we all have had the same ideas and maybe we approached it a little bit different, but we're all incentivizing our employees to do bigger and better things. We're all making sure that they feel that family-oriented environment. We're all making sure that they understand that we care about them as individuals and what's important to them. And I think it's absolutely the truth. That culture is what brings the talent in. And now they don't just magically come to us. Maybe they will after this, but as of yet, nobody's come to me yet and applied and said, you're awesome. They look at our reviews and they look at what people say about us. But most of the time that culture is expressed to them in a few different ways during the talent acquisition process, right? They hear about us from one of our employees who loves working for us. And that's our favorite kind, right? 60% of our hires in the last 2 years were referrals. And we've hired a lot of people. So that to me is amazing. That means our employees really do love working for us, and they love working for us so much that they're telling other people to come work for us. It's been an amazing thing. The other way that people find out about how great our culture is through our recruiters. And we have 2 amazing recruiters who I have chartered to be matchmakers. They don't go out and just search for certifications. Now, don't get me wrong. We have positions that have to be filled. We have to search for certifications. But in general, we have an entire pipeline full of candidates that we've been working with, that we've been matching, waiting to match up to the right position. So we're focusing on their competencies and their capabilities, and we're looking for people who want to grow, and we're mentoring them even before they become employees to help them understand, what certifications should they be working on, help them understand what skill sets should they be building. We start to talk to people even before they get out of the military, and we have, people who have transitioned from the military that are talking to their friends and family members who are about to get out about, like, okay, if you want to get into this field, you have to have a security plus, or, you have to have the CYSA. Like those are the kinds of things that they're focusing on even before they get out, so they're ready to come in, and we're supporting that on a regular basis, right? We want people who are eager, who want to work hard, who want to focus on client satisfaction, and who we know are going to do what it takes to get the job done. Those are the kinds of capabilities we're looking for. We're not looking for just a security plus. Anyone can get that. And for those who may have failed it once or twice, I get it. It's not easy, but we can mentor somebody through that. We can support you through that. I can't help make you have integrity. I can't give you a value of diversity if you don't have it already, right? I can't give you a love of career development if that's not what you're looking for. But if you have those things, then we are absolutely looking for those people and growing them. And our recruiters do a great job of conveying that. They talk about all of the things we have as a culture and all of the events that we do and the benefits that we have. And oh, by the way, you get a day off for your birthday too, because we care about you. And guess what? Who celebrates an adult's birthday anyway? Well, we do. Because it's something about you. And they tell them all of these things and they go, wow, that really is different. So we're using our culture to recruit. We're using it through our employees. We're using it through our recruiters. And you know what I'm doing? I'm keeping my employees too, because they understand that we care about their careers, right? We're breeding the right teams with the right attitude, and we're helping our employees know what the next step is. So even before a contract's about to end, even before they're getting bored, we're talking to them every day, every month, every quarter, and definitely every year. We're focusing our annual goals and objectives that we review quarterly around 3 different areas. So we ask everyone, I want a goal for you. I want you to develop your career. I want a goal for your client. I want you to make things better at the client site, at the person that you're supporting. And then guess what? If you're so inclined, I'd like a goal for us, because I want to have shared success with you. So whether it be getting involved in our recruiting process, whether it be helping us write a white paper, whatever it may be, I want you to think about those 3 goals and the way that they help us all to develop a shared success. And I think that, talent acquisition doesn't stop at acquisition. I consider it to be talent management. How are we making sure that we bring the right people in, that we support them every step of the way in their careers? And that's been kind of the biggest point that we've been pushing on lately as we've been growing, because as Mandy knows for sure, and Kelly's learning too, it's easy to forget that when you're growing and you have to fill a position. I can keep on talking too. Sorry. I guess we didn't practice our transitions.
That's okay. I'll jump in. I think according to our little agenda, I get to go next. So as I mentioned earlier, talent acquisition, I won't say it's a struggle. That's not the right way to put it. As I mentioned earlier, we have we're a focused company. We focus specifically on some leading edge technologies. As I mentioned, we jokingly say behind the scenes, it's all about the data dummy. That should actually be our tagline, because everything, if you think data, we do it. From data analytics and visualization and science, all the way over to architecture and governance and management and librarian skills and anything data, it's all about the data dummy. The problem we run into is there are not as many people doing that as there are needs for these people. So what we've been working, we are working this talent acquisition angle 17 ways to Sunday. We have got 2 amazing internal recruiters, and when they get those people on the phone, that conversation about how they're going to fit in ACS begins immediately, and they are so magically good. Then of course we've got the handful of people that do the sourcing and the outreach and all of those things, and then Cara, to your point, there is nothing better than a referral. Because they come with bona fides, they come with skin in the game. They're excited to be there. They already know what they're getting into. Because by the way, working for a small business is entirely different than working for a large business in some really fantastically good ways, and in sometimes some not so great ways. Sometimes you're going to be chief bottle washer and cook in addition to the job that you're doing. It's just the nature of a small business. So we've spent a lot of time thinking, like I said, about how talent acquisition needs to happen within our organization. And like I said, different ways to go about it. We've recognized that the best way is that people come to us, and hence the getting out there, talking more about the things we do, and setting an environment that people want to stay with. What we say internally is, we want to be your last job. We don't want you to want to go anywhere else. And internally, we have programs to make that happen. We have got a very clear career ladder that will help people figure out how they elevate if they want. We have a job rotational program that is all about, if you're starting to get a little cobwebs in your job, not as excited because you've been doing the same thing for a couple of years, let's try on a different hat. We have extended onboarding. This is one of the things I'm most excited about. We recognize that it's going to take you a while to be able to do your job in this new environment. Now, the first 30 days are all about us helping you understand ACS. And we recognize that you're going to be really good at whatever we hired you to do. You could possibly be the best bottle washer out there. Again, best data scientist. You could possibly be the best data scientist out there, but you don't know how to do it for us inside of our cultural environment, and you don't know how to do it for the customer that we're putting you in front of. So those first 30 days are just learning. You get to learn what it's going to look like there. Second 30 days, if you think about a contract transition, it's that shoulder-to-shoulder activity. So now that second 30 days, day 30 to 60, you're trying with your little training wheels on to make sure that you are taking that magical data science knowledge in your head and you are applying it to the customer space. The last 30 days are, we take those, you're no longer in the baby pool. We take the training wheels off. We're still there. I'm standing behind you on your shoulder, kind of looking over, but this is when you get to really test your mettle. You've now had 60 days to get ready for it. At the end of that 90th day, Cara, to your point, we have got goals and objectives for that employee. We've got how we're going to measure them, and we have individualized how they want to be interacted with. Some employees, old school, they really only want to have that feedback once a quarter. Some of the new generation would like to speak to you every day about how they're doing. Now, there's a happy medium in there. And what we guide our managers to do is to make sure that they're tailoring their interaction with their employees for the employee's desired mechanism of feedback. And like I said, all of this leads up to, we really don't want these employees to leave. If you're doing a good job and you're excited, we want you to stay here forever. And part of that is just, frankly, recruiting is hard. We don't want to have to do it over and over again if we don't have to. We would like you to be excited and stay with us, and we will find those different mechanisms to make sure that you want to stay and are thrilled about ACS in the long run. And like I said, from a talent acquisition perspective, the cultural activity we have in place certainly is drawing people. We are seeing that more and more as we get the word out there about the different ways we operate. Good words always seem to spawn. It's a little bit of a snowball. You get that momentum happening, and more people come and apply to you, and we finally seem to be hitting that sweet spot. But in this space, with the cleared requirements and the high level of technology, it's always going to be a bit of a slog to find those people, those needles in the needle stacks. That's my story. Kelly.
Well, I think we have a lot of similarities, so I'm not going to repeat, I guess, the similar threads of those stories, but I guess I'll just go a little bit differently. The majority of our people, and we're, in a different phase, we're, I guess, more in the startup phase than the two of you are, so a little more mature companies there. But I will say that, the best way we have found people is through referrals and just performance-based marketing, doing a great job on site, and how we perform and interact with other people within our, culture. I think that it attracts other people to want to work with us. And so I think that's how we've been successful in building our foundation. And I guess I'll share a different story on recruiting. Perhaps not the question that was asked, but so when COVID came and, surprised all of us with, what the impact was going to be, I thought, well, I had a few people, young people, call me and say, do you have anything for me? And I knew why they were asking, and it's because the types of work that they were doing wasn't going to work out for them. They weren't going to be able to have jobs. So I hired 5 young people. And I'm like, okay, just come on in and we'll figure it out. And I thought, okay, well, I really need help with recruiting. I mean, we have a professional recruiter, not full time, but when I need them. And so that's really the first thing that I put them on. And I was very proud of how they, stood up and assumed those responsibilities. And the other thing I have them doing besides recruiting is, because of COVID, I think, the silver lining that we haven't really talked about with COVID is the fact that, and Cara maybe mentioned it a little bit, is that, a lot of people are working from home, but yet they're not perhaps connected. So I took our team of recruiters, and now I have them doing project support and making sure everyone has that daily or weekly or, every other week. Some people want to hear from you every day or every other day, like Mandy mentioned, and others not so much. So we have them doing that. But I think the real thing that came out of, doing that is not what I'm actually talking about, but it put me in gear to create that professional development program for how we bring people into the company, and then creating the professional development, and creating plans and goals for each person. So that's really how that part of it started for me. And, I'm really proud of how we've stepped up and assumed those responsibilities. So, and it's interesting, I'm actually bidding on a few things outside of the intelligence community. And the great thing is they'll be able to take what they've learned from working in our culture, which is kind of fun. I also like to share that it's been great for those that also have children, hopping in the scene and, one baby on the hip and, being in the meetings, that's actually fun and a joyous part of the work, right? To be able to provide work and opportunity for people so that they can work from home and do that. But I think it's the great part of it is we'll be able to put them out on these contracts. One of them, we've already managed to get a clearance, a secret clearance, and that went pretty quickly because he was a veteran. So he had already been prior Army. He was a student, so we took him in. But the others we've already put through the process, and they'll be going out on contract too. So I guess I'll share a little different story about that.
Thank you, everyone. We have a lot of questions here, but not a whole lot of time. So I'm going to ask one of the questions, which I hope, and especially Mandy, you can do. But it is, you're all remarkable and admirable leaders with great accomplishments. So what do you look for in a person beyond the right technical abilities? Answer in one word.
Can it have a hyphen? We actually look for emotional intelligence, and that is a hyphenated word. Self-awareness, that also similar, in that vein, but we're really looking for a consultant.
Okay, Cara and Kelly?
So you stole one of mine. Emotional intelligence is like amazing, and I read about it, I think about it a lot, and it's very important when we staff for sure. But if I have to pick a different one, I think it would be wisdom, because for me that's so very important, to be able to know what you know and know what you don't know and be able to grow in those areas.
Okay, those were two really, really good ones. So I guess I'll use those that you feel are very good with their soft skills that come through in the interview that imply a lot of things like self-awareness and also the ability to communicate effectively and work as a team member to get the job done.
I'm going to was I muted?
You weren't muted. I think the internet may have gotten the best of you there.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest that we actually do a follow-up session for a bunch of these questions that are coming in on business growth and technical development. So I would like to just ask one last question so that we stay reasonably within the time constraint. Is you have all overcome a lot of hurdles being successful. What are the biggest roadblocks do you still feel are challenging for you, for your company, and in your career? Kelly, we'll start with you.
I would say this would be a good time to mention women-owned opportunities. We're clearly women-owned companies, and I think that there just really aren't a lot of technical opportunities for those of us that have the technical experience, the background, the acumen, and the ability to perform in that arena. I see a lot of things where, if the three of us, competed against each other, which, I think would be fantastic. And, we submitted, for something at NGA, I challenge them. Would they have it as a small business, woman-owned set aside so that we could compete in our arena? I haven't seen that to date, but what I have seen is the majority of those competitions go total small business. I'm fine with competing in that environment too, but I would really love to see more technical opportunities for technical women.
Okay, Cara?
So I try not to view anything as a roadblock, but, more as a challenge and something to be overcome. I feel like, we've overcome a lot in a short period of time. We've overcome a lot in a long period of time. I think the biggest challenge that we have facing us right now is really trying to stand out in a very large sea of lots of people who offer very similar things. Technical focus, great people. Just saying I have great people isn't good enough, right? So what are you doing to constantly stay on top of it? We're in a field where technology is changing and growing and ever evolving. So, how do you as a company balance, as a small company, balance the need to have people working on site and bringing in revenue and the constant need to be continually developing their careers and giving them the opportunities that they're looking for? I think we do a great job of doing it, but I do think it's a challenge. And another challenge that I think that we've been looking at too is we love our employees and we love them so much that we oftentimes find ourselves focused on stability and conservation and support of what we have rather than pursuit of new. So how do you get yourself to a place where you're very comfortable and everybody, you know that everybody has exactly what they need, and then feel comfortable going way above that? And I think that's where we are as a company in our next challenge.
Okay, Mandy.
Thank you. So I have a bit of a tactical one and then a sort of bit of a strategic one. So tactically, just not to harken back to the talent acquisition, but oh my goodness, I would be double the size if I could just fill all my open billets. We have, go to my website. We've got a ridiculous number of open positions, and they're all over the DC metro area, and not just here, St. Louis, Texas, great places. So talent acquisition and really just being able to fill the open billets, that's a tactical issue. Strategically, 2020 year for us was a year of reset, and COVID actually jump-started it. We were a little bit where Cara was in sort of a backward-leaning posture, not because we were doing anything other than we were so proud about being lean and mean for so long that we'd done all those great step functions I mentioned, and we hadn't given ourselves 2 seconds to rub our brain cells together and come up with where we were going to go next. And we sat and we did our January 2020 strategy session. We do strategic planning twice a year, January, July, how are we doing, where are we going in the next 5 years. We did our January session and we didn't really do a whole bunch differently. And COVID happened and we recognized that we were never going to move forward strategically. There's a maxim that when you're 1, you should act like you're 3 people. When you're 3, you should act like you're 5. That gets a bit different when you're bigger. When you're 100, you should act like you're 300. We were never going to act like a 300-person company unless we changed the way we were doing business. So we took the COVID kind of kicked us a little bit in the head and said, you need to think differently. And we spent this summer doing a second strategy session to evaluate what that would mean. And then we're now acting on the investment prioritization that came out of that. But that was a roadblock for us, getting yourself out of that what got you here mindset, because it's different depending upon where you are in your life cycle as a company. And I realize I talked that much too long.
That's okay. Hey, I know we're out of time. I do hope we do a follow-up activity. I think you guys were very great, very inspirational. Really, really happy to have had the opportunity to moderate this session. Really appreciate your insights, audience. I really appreciate your participation. I will say I got a couple different questions. Are any of them hiring? Worded several different ways. So I have your contact information. I may start handing it out, or you can steer me to a recruiting site that you prefer. Adam, thanks again for all the fun, and everyone.